Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the knockout playoffs taking place on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. This is leg one of the knockout playoffs. This is the teams that finished in between ninth and 24th place in the league phase of the Champions League. Now they're going to play a two-leg knockout playoff for the right to go to the round of 16. So those teams that finished 1 through 8, they get a bye, and they don't have to worry about this. They won't play until early March. Um, but we got some decent matchups here. Actually, there's going to be four matchups on each of Tuesday and Wednesday. And I think the biggest game, obviously, is taking place today here on Tuesday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, hitting that notification bell. Comment down below. Please do comment down below. And I'm gonna try my best to not fuck this one up. Um, Obviously, we've been given some really good bets. I know that Super Bowl was a doozy, but I think that was for a lot of folks out there. No one expected the Kansas City Chiefs to not score any points in the first half and only have one first down, like 20 yards total offense. It was it was ugly for the Kansas City Chiefs. We had them in the winning margin, 1 to 13 points. Definitely not ashamed of that one. It's just Kansas City just didn't play well, and the Philadelphia defense played really well. So the offense, for that matter. But let's talk about the UEFA Champions League here. So we're going to get into it. We got four games, cover each one of them. I may give a low and high risk bet for some of them, maybe all of them. We'll see. Let's go ahead and get started with it. All right, we start things off with this League One matchup in the Champions League. Brest going up against Saint-Germain. And well, I really like how PSG is playing at this time. They picked up Kvaratskhelia from Napoli, but really it's the guys that they had there already in Bradley Barcola and in particular Osman Dembele, who really been on fire and have been pretty prolific in goal and clinical as well, scoring a bunch of goals. Dembele had a hat trick and then he had a brace double in his follow-up game, and PSG has won their last four games. They won their last two games in the Champions League after starting off very slow and actually being at risk of, being knocked out of the tournament in the league phase. So PSG is just playing as good as any team in Europe right now, and I really like their prospects. This is a 12:45 game, so this is the um, early game out of the four games. And I think this is a game that probably is, I don't want to say is a for sure thing, but I think with the way PSG's playing, it may be a sure thing to now they are playing in Brest, which I believe is in Brittany, so in the northern part of the country, northwest corner of the country there. And yeah, I just mentioned that passing because Brest is at home and they do play better on their home soil. So, looking at this matchup, I'm going to go with a low risk and a high risk bet. On the lower risk side, I do see both teams getting on the board. There has been goals from both teams in the last five matchups between these two sides. So I do see there being goals, and I do see both teams getting on the board. So let's go with both teams scoring over 2.5 goals. And you can get that at, I believe, -110. So I don't want to say it's a for sure thing with the way PSG's playing. They've been playing good defense too, but I think Brest has enough to get on the board at home. But for my best bet and what I like the most here, and I think is good value, take PSG plus both teams that score. So PSG on the money line. It's hard for me to imagine a scenario where PSG doesn't win this game just with the way they're playing. But you know how football is; it can be a little bit tricky, and teams that are hot can all of a sudden just go on a cold streak. at any given time and without any prior notice. So, but with that being said, low risk, both teams to score plus over 2.5 goals, and then the higher risk, I'll take PSG on the money line plus both teams to score. Next game we'll take a look at is Sporting versus Dortmund. And I think this is actually going to be one of the more competitive games, although neither of these sides are playing particularly well. Sporting is a side that had started off the competition as one of the top 8 teams, and they were really flying high until Ruben Amorim left for Man United, and that's when everything started going sideways for this side. And they've been dealing with some injuries. Pedro Goncalves, um, who's been a major contributor this year and last year, is been out for quite a while now. Of course, they still have Victor Gorkarez, but he has not been as prolific since really since Amarin left. I think it's really gotten to his head. Maybe he's not as fully committed, at this, maybe he has his heart elsewhere. I don't know what the situation is, but it's, if a coach leaves that has been that integral to the side's success and their philosophy and things of that nature, these things can occur. Dortmund, on the other end, is having one of the most disappointing seasons that they've had in a long time. But the thing about Dortmund is that their pedigree in this competition is so strong that it's hard to bet against them. Although, they haven't played well in their, recent games in the or recent matches in the Champions League. They did win their last matchup against Shakhtar 3-1. But then before that, they had lost their previous 2 games against Bologna, in a game that I had them in, and then against Barcelona. So probably Bologna was definitely the more surprising. And before that, they had 2 victories against Zagreb and Sturm Graz, which are 2 of the lesser teams in the competition. But at any rate, Dortmund is not playing well, especially in the Bundesliga, where they've uh, like mid table. Even towards the bottom of the table, I think. They're just not playing very good. And, I think their confidence is low at this time. And they sold a guy like Malin to Aston Villa. I don't think they're folding it in or anything. They still have Garrissey and Julian Brandt and, Adeyemi. They still have the weapons to be able to compete in this competition and you know, go places in this competition. Sporting, same thing. It's just right now it looks a little grim for both of these sides. But looking at this matchup, I do like both teams to score. I don't see this necessarily being a high scoring affair, but I do see both getting on the board. I'm just going to go with a single bet for this one. Although if I were to lean towards a side, it would actually be Dortmund in this one, even though Sporting is at home. I don't like the way they're playing. They're beating the teams, the lesser teams in the Premier Liga there in Portugal, but it just comes down to the pedigree of Borussia Dortmund in this competition, and that's why I would lean towards them. Although I'm not going to pick them. I see this game more than likely being a draw. Um, for the sake of best bet, I'm not going to go with a draw. I would go with both teams to score and Dortmund on the double chance. So Dortmund on the double chance plus both teams to score. That's my best bet for that one. All right, next we'll take a look at Juventus going up against PSV. And, this is a matchup where maybe if PSV was operating at full strength, I might take a look at, them maybe on the double chance or something like that. They're not, and they're still formidable, even without guys like Tillman, Pepe, um, and Sergino Dest, who's been trying to come back from that ACL injury that he suffered last year at the end of last year. PSV is a good side. They really are. I think they're one of the best teams in the Netherlands. Um, but Juventus is one of the best teams in Italy, and that acquisition of Bolomawani from on loan from PSG, it's been a really good pickup. He's been hitting on all cylinders since he came over to Juventus, and he's been quite a bit more clinical than Vlahovic. That's the one knock on Vlahovic is that he can be a bit sloppy in front of goal and wasteful. And Juventus brung over Muani, and he's been pretty clinical, been pretty precise in terms of being able to score goals. Ever since he started playing for him, he's scoring 2 goals here, 2 goals there. He won the last one with the penalty kick. So, I do like Juventus in this one. They're at home. They're, obviously they're going to have the crowd on their side. So, give me Juventus on the lower risk bet. It's on the money line, minus 110. I think there's a real good chance that, you know, PSV gets on the board. See, they still got, you know, Frankie De Jong, not Frankie De Jong, excuse me, Luke De Jong, um, in the 9 hole. So he is more than capable of, and not only him, but some of the other guys on that team are capable of scoring a goal. So I think Juventus, in order to win this game, they need to at least put 2 goals on the board. So, on the higher risk side, take on the lower risk side, excuse me, take Juventus on the money line. On the higher risk side, let's go ahead with Juventus and over 1.5 goals. You could get that at plus 125 bet MGM. All right, and the last bet we'll cover here is the marquee matchup. Man City going up against Real Madrid, and a matchup of two teams that are their last two winners of the Champions League. Of course, Man City in 2023, Real Madrid last year, winning their 15th Champions League title in 2024. And, Real Madrid comes into this matchup with basically no one, no center backs, banged up back line. I mean, they're really, really banged up after losing Luis Vasquez. So, I think looking out there, I think a lot of people maybe are leaning towards Man United because of that. Excuse me, Man City because of that. And I like City a lot. Listen, I'm a City fan. I'm more of an Arsenal fan, but I am a City fan at the end of the day. And, you know, I like to say that Man City would win this game. I'm just not so sure. I got burnt by these guys a couple times this year, most recently in that match day 7 uh, tie against PSG, where they were up 2-0, and then PSG comes storming back. City ends up losing the game 4-2, and that pissed me off pretty good. But I can't trust this City back line, and in terms of their possession, it just doesn't seem like it's possession with purpose. It just seems like possession just for the sake of possession. They're moving the ball around. I mean, they're going to be a little bit better with these acquisitions over the transfer window with Marmoush, though I haven't seen him do much lately. Well, not lately, but since he came over to City, and then I know the kid from Uzbekistan scored a goal, Sarev, which glad to see after his hiccup that he had in his first game with City, where he made that mistake that led to a goal. So you know, I see both teams getting on the board, and with a team like Real Madrid, it's like pointing back to the game again, that the matchup Sporting and Dortmund, just their pedigree in this. I can't bet against Real Madrid in the Champions League. They're just going to always prove you wrong. And I know their back line is a shambles, but maybe for Real Madrid, their best defense is a really, really solid attacking offense. And that's what they have with, um, you know, talk about turning it around. Mbappe has really turned around his year and has put all those doubts to bed. And, Rodrigo has been excellent. Obviously, Vinicius Jr. Although I do wonder about Vinicius Jr. and whether or not he has his head in the game. Um, I don't know what that guy's thinking, whether or not he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. He says he doesn't, but then he's rejecting contracts from Real Madrid. Maybe he's just looking for more money. Probably so. Um, but at any rate, I see both teams getting on the board. But listen, I don't see Real Madrid losing this game. So I see. Both teams to score and Real Madrid on the double chance. Get that at plus 145. That's another reason why I'm taking it. The value is on Real Madrid in this matchup, you know, and so Real Madrid on the double chance plus both teams to score. That's my best bet. All right, that's all I got for you folks. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening in. Um, if you are so inclined to do so, please consider hitting that subscribe button, smashing that like button, hitting that notification bell, commenting down below. Man, let's start commenting down below. Let me know what you think about this. You think if it's good? You think if it's bad? Are you hailing me? Are you fading me? Let me know. Comment down below. I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time. Good luck on these bets. And you know, we'll be back tomorrow. All right. Until then, peace out.